there's a new Ihsahn band
Yes,
behind you on stage.
that's true.
How is it going so far with them?
It's,
How did they get into the music?
well, I think it's been very refreshing.
Yeah.
And that said, of course, I've been so lucky to have Lepros as my backing band for ever since I started playing live with my solo stuff. But it was really a lot of practical reasons that, of course, they're a very successful band themselves, and with all the touring and everything that they do, it's kind of hard to get the calendars to fit in.
Yeah.
And also, it was kind of refreshing. They're very talented musicians, and we were 6 people on stage, so I kind of got off easy. So this time I only have 3 more members, so more pressure on myself, and but of course they're very talented musicians, and I've rearranged my music to fit that setup.
Interesting. And how did you find them? Are they also students of yours, or?
No, but it's they are kind of mates and friends and colleagues of the same. It's kind of in the outside of Lepros, and from people from the same rehearsal spaces and everything. So.
Are you? Sorry if I will call you. Are you the kind of dictator that everybody has to do the same as you decide, or did they get to bring in their own?
Well, for the most part, I've when we're enough people, I've just of course there's always a part of improvisation, but then it was very much just performing it as it was on the album, since we were enough people to do that. And but now with a new lineup and new people, I rather wanted to see if the songs. In their ground structure were powerful enough that you could actually change things around and use different instruments, and that they still will, be strong songs. So this time I have cut out all bass guitar and rearranged it for Moog bass instead. And I've just really made sketches for the keyboard player to kind of work around some of the guitar parts that used to be there, and for the second guitarist, he's I've given him all the score, but he is also taken a lot by ear, and also adding in making his own solos and everything, and I think that's just great, because it's now that the album format in a way becomes more like an accessory. That's the free accessory. Sometimes it used to be this big important thing, but now what is exclusive and exciting is actually the live show in many ways.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always exciting with a new album as well. At least I think so. But also the live element. And I thought, okay, maybe I could lose some of the control and rather see if every show could be more special.
I'm looking forward personally. I'm really curious.
Well, I'm very curious myself, because this is the first show
Exactly.
of this season. So.
Yep. And then I don't know how many shows we will have, but I know you're going to have this Midgardsblot in Norway. Can you tell us, because it says that there's going to be a special show by you, I think, or is it going to be a regular Ihsahn show, or sorry?
Well, I since it's a headliner spot and there's more time available, I guess I have some plans for doing something there that I don't necessarily do on the other shows.
So people who would want to see something special from you might.
Yeah. We definitely should go.
Some.
But in all, this is in itself, I think, a rather special show, and I thought it was cool to play something as close to where I live. Because most of the time I don't even play in Norway, so.
yeah, that's true actually. When you coming up in a new album, are you the kind of person who picks up stuff from 5 years ago that's lying somewhere in your house or in your studio, or do you always come up with fresh ideas? You start from scratch, or?
I would say in 95% the cases it's all fresh.
Okay, so you
'Cause
don't
it's
linger in the past.
No, this time it's a bit different. There are a few themes from my upcoming album that were not leftovers, but things that I wrote in the period when I did Das Helmbrechen, but that did not fit into that album. But that in my mind, this will fit better in the next one, because the previous album was such a kind of different type of album.
Okay.
But
when is that planned? Do you already have a
early
plan
next
for
year.
it? Okay. Oh, it's when it's
I've written all of it.
Okay.
But
cool. And what about the album whose name I cannot pronounce since I lack German knowledge? It seems very cryptical, both when you look at simply if you take the titles, like, okay, what's this about? But the music has a different direction as far as I'm familiar with your music. Have people figured out any meaning behind it? Did you hear any interpretations? How do people perceive it as a...
I think it's been very much either or, that people either connect with it or not, because it's not really, there's no secret code to it or whatever. But I think the reason I wanted to, for example, use a German title is that as presenting the album, that would kind of channel that this is something different, and also with the cryptic titles and everything, kind of underbuilds that this is not something that is too obvious. And I think musically too, it's not very in your face and obvious. And that was kind of the whole idea about the album, because I'm a huge fan of more my experimental music, and as I probably mentioned, like Diamond Galas and Scott Walker, and people who have ideas and then more spontaneously, at least the way I imagine it, kind of just performs it as in a very pure form. That's why on the previous album I even had 2 songs that are purely improvised.
Okay.
And I wanted to open up for being, having more of that approach to performing and writing music. And for me, who's used to working in a studio situation where I have so much control, this was like musical skydiving. So, but still very refreshing, because it kind of, I guess, even though it doesn't sound like what you necessarily think of when you think of a black metal album, but the kind of this was totally new ground for me to not have that and just go by pure instinct, but at the same time, it was much more familiar to the kind of state of mind we had as teenagers when we did the first Emperor albums or whatever, because we didn't have that knowledge. We didn't know how to do it. We just, did it on pure instinct. So I guess I wanted to revisit that state of mind. That was the idea for the previous one. This new one, totally different.
If it happens that you listen back to your music, that doesn't matter if it's Ihsahn or Emperor, but any stuff that you composed, do you often get the feeling that, I would like, especially when you work in the studio, I would like to change this, I would like a new thing there? Or you just accept it as it was and that's it?
Well, I used to be like that, but now I guess since I've done quite a few albums over the years, for me they're more representations of times, and I guess also with my solo work, I've had kind of particular ideas of kind of not limiting, but kind of making a framework for each album to work within, so that becomes a project and kind of an experiment in itself. So whereas the previous album was this total free-form mental trip kind of thing, this new album is much more focused on the rhythmical aspects and something that is, inspired by other types of music that I really enjoyed, but that really focusing in on good choruses and really fat
Technical?
No, not necessarily technical, but like really cool guitar riffs. And I'm not saying but at least that's the intention to focus in on more classic vibe.
Do you get videos or recordings from people who copy your solos or your songs? Do you get to listen to them? How does it feel when people are?
Well, I can't say I've seen so much of it. I've seen some of it, but it's so hard to pick out, especially from the early Emperor days. It's so hard. That's why I wrote this Emperor tablature book back in the day, because I had some students coming to me wanting to play Emperor songs that they found online, and I couldn't believe how wrong these tablatures were. So that was pure, provocation into me making this book, so to get it right. But
okay. What does it take to shift between Ihsahn and Emperor Ihsahn? Is it a similar state of mind, or?
That's the strange thing, because now that we did these Emperor shows last year, and I kind of noticed, because I was a bit worried. Am I able to kind of get into that state of mind and perform these old songs that I wrote, when I was a teenager, with these guys, and kind of do it properly?
Yeah.
But then I noticed, I think, when I get on stage and I do this type of music, it doesn't really matter that much what kind of songs I play, because I kind of immediately get into that state of mind. And I realize, and I would say, well, even more so with my later albums, are much more in the same mental space as the early Emperor things, in that more intuitive way of approaching it. So for me, that I actually was a bit puzzled by that myself. That the experience of playing with Emperor and playing my solo shows, for me, in that square that I stand on, was just, there were no difference at all.
Do you get to practice a lot, or
No.
that song just come back to you?
Oh, for the Emperor songs, yeah.
Both.
Yeah, no. For my new stuff, I have to practice quite a lot. But the Emperor songs, of course, playing it together, we did a lot of rehearsals to get it really good. But I guess those old riffs, it's kind of in the backbone.
Yeah, so they will never leave you.
No, it's and of course it's not, overly technical, since they were written.
You still don't like touring, apparently?
Well, I don't like touring in the sense of getting on a tour bus and the thing. I just, far prefer just doing one-offs. And of course I could easily, do more, 2 or 3 festivals during a weekend or something, but that whole getting on a bus thing.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So even if it got more modern, like the buses are a bit fancier now and everything.
Yeah, but it's
still
I guess for me it's a privilege. I've started to, enjoy playing live more over the years as well, but it's just this fantastic compromise where I can actually still, do my studio thing and be a family man, and still just, I can go out and do shows as well. But I can, most of the time do festivals where I reach a lot more people, every time. So I think it's kind of for me, a win-win.
Yeah, and it's good you have a choice.
Yes.
That's a great achievement, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm just very humbled to that privilege, and as long as I can kind of continue to do that, and so I don't get bored, I'm focused. I want to do this. It's not routine, I think that is why I never wanted to do music, because it was supposed to be routine, or I do it because I think it's exciting.